Welcome back to a second season of Literacy with Linda and our first episode of this season. I'm Dr. Linda Hirsch, the ELA Department Coordinator for the Chelmsford Public Schools. On today's episode, we will be discussing all things high school. Today's guests include some of our high school ELA teachers, one of our special education teachers, and one of our guidance counselors. In today's segments, we will be looking at the college essay in the Writing for College class, talk about our co-teaching model for students, and lastly, our advanced placement courses for students at CHS. Now, let me take the time to introduce you to the high school ELA department. Welcome back. In this first segment, we'll be talking about the college essay. Today we have Mr. Matthew Bartos, a returning guest from season 1, and he's also one of our Writing for College teachers, as well as Miss Mary Claire O'Neill, Emerson House Guidance Counselor, to highlight our curriculum in the Writing for College course and how the college essay is part of the college application process. Specifically, you will hear about the Writing for College course overview, and we'll be talking about how guidance plays a role in the essay process. Mr. Bartos, Ms. O'Neill, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
So, Mr. Bartos, what are some of the differences between high school writing and writing for college?
A lot of times in high school writing, we focus a lot on literary analysis, understanding the text, and trying to form good structure in an essay, but college writing is going to be much more focused on exposition, building arguments, building narratives, having the kids develop memoirs. So the great thing that we can do in this course is to get the kids to understand not only that transition, but also the ways that they have to now build a better purpose in their papers moving forward into the college area.
Great. And can you share some of the strategies that the students learn in the Writing for College course?
Yeah, we try to work on writing skills, specifically better verb choice, getting them out of the inactive verbs and into more active verbs. Things that they might not typically think about, but we've got to get them to understand that more active verbs are going to make for a better essay. We also want to really get them to focus on becoming better self-editors, not just producing one essay and hoping that it's going to be finished product from the start, but understanding that writing is a process, and that if they can become better self-editors, they can attach better strategies by looking at their essays and finding out what they need to do to improve their own writing.
Great. I've been in your classes, and it seems like the kids are really working towards that, and in speaking to the students, they've shown that in their work.
They do, and of course, the motivating factor is they've got deadlines, and so they know that they've got to match those deadlines, and so if it isn't even me talking, it's the colleges talking to them.
Great, great. So Ms. O'Neill, speaking about deadlines, good thing we have the guidance counselors at the high school to help us out. What is the importance of the college essay to the application process?
So the essay is a pretty important part of the whole process. The first thing colleges look at will be the transcript. That's where the grades are. They want to see, what kind of grades a student has earned, what the progress has been. They also look at the rigor of the student's classes. But those are an SAT scores for schools that accept SATs, or ACT. But that's data. What personalizes the application for the college is the student's essay. It's the student's opportunity to kind of paint a picture, if you will, for the college about who are they as a person, who are they as a citizen, what kind of student will they be when they go to that college.
Great. So we hear that the Common Application has changed the essay prompts. How are these new prompts different than in past years for students?
Right, so in the past we had 6 essay prompts that were a little bit vaguer than the ones they are now. They had topics, but they weren't very specific, they weren't general. And then the ever popular topic of your choice, which quite a few kids would do. They would just write about whatever they wanted to, and it was good, but colleges, I think, were looking for a little more introspection. So the 5 questions they have now really want the kids to reflect. They want them to not just write about an experience, but tell about how the experience affected them. Like one of the questions is, one of the ones I really like is, write about a place where you feel the most content. So you really have to do some thinking about that. And I think that's hard for students of this age. And I think it's a great exercising for the college essay, but also for themselves to sort of kind of see who they are and where they're going.
Yeah. Great.
There's a limit now. It used to be that the limit was about 500 words. Now it's 650, and it's a hard limit. So if you go over that limit, the colleges won't see that. Similarly, there's a minimum, and it used to be that you didn't have a minimum, and now it's 250. So if you don't have at least 250 words, it won't send.
Right.
So it gives them a little more structure to it, which I also think is a good thing.
So I'm sure you've seen a lot of essays.
Yes. Yes.
Are there some certain things that students should avoid in writing in their essays?
Yeah, well, we as a guidance department, we've spoken to quite a few colleges about this. We attend workshops about, how to write a better college essay, how to best advise our kids. Things that they want students to avoid. Things like cliche, like scoring the winning goal, or a mission trip, or how something like how someone like Martin Luther King affected them. Those are all great and interesting topics, but they can get a little bit cliche. A great example is when I was speaking with the Northeastern admissions rep, and they were comparing 2 essays. One was about a boy who climbed Mount Everest, which is an amazing experience, but he didn't make it about him. He made it about climbing Mount Everest, and a girl who wrote about her experience eating breakfast. And she had such a way of letting the admissions people know who she was through that it was just a much more meaningful essay. So you want to avoid cliche. Another thing that students sometimes tend to do is write about people who they look up to, which is a great thing, grandparents, parents. But what the admissions counselors always say to us is, that's great, and by the time we finish reading that essay, we want to accept grandma. We want to accept mom. It's very important for the student to write about that person, certainly, but then say how that has affected them. Right. So that's another important piece. Trauma is another thing. In this day and age, people have trauma in their lives. Some kids have gone through depression, anxiety, some have lost loved ones, and those make for very, very compelling essays as long as it's not too new, because if it's too new, it's very raw. Yeah. So they need to have time removing them from it so that they have perspective, so they can share how that has affected them, how they've grown on that. And the other thing that I always warn kids about is don't try to be funny. You have to recognize that when you submit your essay, it's not just one person. They might visualize the cool 25-year-old admissions counselor who came and the kids really kind of relate to. He may very well read your essay, but so might the 60-year-old woman, or you just don't know who's going to read it, so you have to make sure that you're not inappropriately funny, especially if you're not funny to begin with, and if you make your topic pleasant for all to read. So that's kind of like the topic part. The pitfalls are a lot of essays that I've written have typos, grammatical errors. Really, really, really important to proofread and have someone else proofread it. Because if you look at a typo long enough, it's going to look right to you. You want someone to help you edit, but the caveat about that is you don't want someone to over-edit it. It needs to remain your voice. It needs to be a 17-year-old voice. If parent or teacher or guidance counselor, if anybody is too heavy-handed with that, then it takes on the voice of maybe a 45-year-old. And college counselors read thousands of these, and they can tell if it's been written by a parent, if it's a canned essay, or if it's someone who was truly a 17-year-old presenting themselves, and that's what it needs to be. let's see. So just basically to be yourself. I think the most important thing that I say to kids is make sure that your writing is of good quality, that it's good quality writing, but that there's introspection and reflection in there to show them who you are.
Great. Well, I know I've been a victim myself of self-correcting my own work, and it's not pretty when it goes out. Well, I would like to thank both of you for being on the show, sharing your expertise with the college essay writing, and sharing with our viewers some good insight.
Glad to be here.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us.
Writing for College is a course in which students work to develop writing skills that will both help them with their college application process and enable them to be successful writers at the university level. During the course, students prepare essays following the writing process from topic search to final draft. As they bring each essay to publishable form, students develop a number of skills that enable them not only to produce essays for their college admissions package, but also to meet the demands of writing in college classes. The process of continual response and revision encourages students to work cooperatively with their peers and with their teacher to develop their personal writing strengths and to eradicate persistent problems, especially in the area of clarity and correctness. In this class, students are expected to be active participants who contribute meaningfully to their peer response process, seek response to their work from their teacher and their peers, and most importantly, are willing to revise, revise, revise. Students in the Writing for College course were asked several questions in regards to strategies, preparation, and the application to the college process. Haley, what strategies have you learned in the Writing for College course?
Well, I've learned more about descriptive writing and really using different verbs instead of is, are, were, and just more colorful language, and just how to write an overall essay a lot better.
Nashita, how does the Writing for College course help you prepare to be a better writer?
In the class, we have really learned how to write quality versus amount, and how to use better vocabulary instead of just making it bland, how to make it actually really much more captivating to the reader, because in the standpoint in college they'll be reading essays and they want us to improve from a high school level to a college level, and they want us to see that we're writing much better.
Dan, how does the Writing for College course help you through the college process?
Well, it's really just kind of made me look at the Common App and other applications probably earlier than I would have, just to see what type of questions they were. So I've already started to go through the application just because I've looked at it. And I've been looking into what types of things different colleges like to see in the essay. So I feel like I'm one step ahead.
Writing for College is an elective course in the English department for seniors in their first semester at CHS. In high school, we have many programs to help support and prepare students to meet the rigors of the ELA classroom. In this segment, we'll be talking about our co-teaching program at Chelmsford High School. We have another returning guest from Season 1 and one of our 9th and 10th grade English teachers, Mr. Carpenito, and special education teacher, Ms. Schulman, here to talk about co-teaching and what that program looks like in the ELA classroom. Mr. Carpenito, Ms. Schulman, thank you for being on the show. Mr. Carpenito, what is the purpose or reasoning for co-teaching?
So the idea is that our students in our classrooms, they have needs that can't be met by just one teacher at the front of the room. So if I come to the classroom with the content area perspective focused on what students need to learn in terms of English, Lauren brings the special education background necessary to allow each individual student to meet the standards and the objectives of the class.
So, Ms. Schulman, what exactly is co-teaching?
Co-teaching is when you have one content-specific educator, so Sam, who's an English teacher, and then you also have a special educator, myself, and you really work together to create a united front, to create a team, to help teach all the students in the class. And the students are a combination of regular education students, students with special education needs. And co-teaching can look very different depending on which classroom you're in. There's ways that you can do it to support all students. So sometimes Sam will teach and I'll go around and check in with the students to make sure that they're able to understand and follow. Sometimes the roles will be reversed. I'll be teaching, Sam will be going around the classroom. There's times when we stand up at the front of the room and teach together. There's times when you can divide the class right down the middle and Sam will take half and I'll take half. So it really does look different depending on what it is that we're doing in the classroom and what our goal is for the lesson.
So you both talk a little bit about the roles and the different goals that you have for your co-teaching model. Could you explain to the viewers what are your actual goals and roles that you would like to see in this type of teaching model?
Sure, Linda. Certainly sharing the responsibilities and teaching collaboratively is a great goal. Sam really brings a wonderful breadth of knowledge of the English language arts curriculum to the classroom, and he does a wonderful job of presenting that with the students and really providing clear expectations. And certainly to just share the collaboration, share the responsibilities, the grading, the planning. Co-planning is certainly an important part of co-teaching as well.
Yeah, Lauren has this knack for almost predicting where students are going to struggle. And basically, we'll go into planning a lesson together, and I'll say they absolutely have to understand what Vonnegut meant by this story. And she'll just have an idea for a visual aid or a movie to use, or even just how to group the students. And it just makes everything in the room kind of flow. So she brings that student assist model almost, if you will. And I try to focus on the content and honestly just try to keep up with her.
And lots of times too, we'll plan for one thing and Sam will get talking on something, and as he's talking, I'll just think, okay, we really need to express this in a visual, and he'll be talking and he'll look behind him and see me, drawing pictures on the board.
Right. So it sounds a lot that you're creating this relationship. So how can you actually make it successful?
Well, we keep talking about planning, and planning together is the biggest, most pivotal point to it. Knowing where we're at in the class and where we want to get to. It's really, really important that we have kind of a rapport or a rhythm as we move throughout like the 45-minute to an hour period. And understanding that we need to be united in terms of what we expect from the students. Our expectations are always high, but from little things to when is it acceptable to leave the room, to when is it acceptable to work in groups or to work on something alone. Being united on the same page is pivotal.
Great. So, ultimately this is about the students. So what are the benefits to the students?
There's so many benefits that students can really have from co-teaching. One of them mainly is just the differentiated instruction. So you have two teachers, you can provide instruction in so many different ways. There's times when Sam will explain something, I'll explain it a different way, he'll then explain it a third way. And you really can access all types of learners. You can really help reach them, you can help them to understand, to scaffold, and certainly just to provide flexible grouping, which is great.
Great. Well, you certainly shared a lot of insight into the co-teaching model. I know that we do this at our multiple levels, and I'd like to thank both of you for being on the show today and sharing your insight.
Great. Thanks again, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's take a quick break to check your grammar skills with Mr. Van Blackholm.
Good evening, and welcome to Verbal Vignettes with VB. I'm Mr. VB. It's a pleasure to be here. Today we are going to speak about two of the more common errors in the English language: pronoun agreement and the word or words a lot. To begin, the first example: everyone should have their ID badges displayed. Sounds correct? Unfortunately, it is not. Everyone is a collective noun and is singular. Years ago, when disco was cool and bell-bottoms were hip, people began acknowledging the political incorrectness of deferring to simply the masculine, singular form, his, him, or he. Thus, he, she, and his, her began their slow but steady and eventual intrusion into the vernacular. It is proper and politically correct, but it burdens the tongue. To wit, this new generation has adopted the use of their as a simple gender-neutral pronoun as a substitution. Unfortunately, it is grammatically flawed, as there is, and will always be, a plural word. It should read, everyone should have his or her ID badges displayed. Feel free to defer to his or her, however the mood may strike you. Secondly, a lot of the time, people text in class. While this is true, the way it's written here is incorrect. A is an indefinite article, modifying the noun and sometimes adverb lot. They are never combined to form one word, ever. Ever. A lot, the one word that you may have heard, means to assign or use or give, according to Merriam-Webster. That is, students are each allotted one ID badge. But as you can see, that has an extra L. I'm Mr. VB. Thank you very much for joining me today on Verbal Vignettes, and please, speak carefully.
In this last segment, we'll be talking about advanced placement in English. At Chelmsford High School, we have advanced placement course for both our junior and senior students. Here today we have Mr. Stephen Coteaching, who teaches the 12th grade Literature and Language course at Chelmsford High School, to talk more about AP and how the curriculum is developed. Mr. Coteaching, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So if you could tell the viewers, what is advanced placement?
Well, the basic idea behind advanced placement, it's been in existence for decades now, is that our job as AP teachers is to create an experience in a learning environment that's similar to what they would experience in a college setting. To read a lot of different challenging texts, different rhetorical modes that require different sort of responses, voices from ancient Greece to something that was written last week, different cultures, male, female, and so the idea is to expose them to a lot of different voices, a lot of different reading experiences, and challenge them with the responsibility of understanding the text and communicating what they understand both verbally and in writing.
Great. And why would a student take advanced placement courses in English?
Well, first of all, the basic goal behind any AP course is to get college equivalency. So each test you can get a score from 0 to 5, whether it's science, psychology, English, or whatever. So the basic goal for a lot of students is to be excused, if you will, from courses that they would have to take at college. And when AP first started, there were students who were able to take off entire semesters or more of college based on their performance on the exams. The universities have gotten wise to that, and some of them don't allow that anymore. So first of all, it's for the grade, another standardized test that they get to perform on and see how they compare to their peers. But it's also, I think, about the intellectual challenge. And it's a very demanding course regarding what we read and how the classes run and the work that we do. And I think that students who generally take AP are, looking for that extra level of challenge and responsibility.
Great. And what kind of reading and materials do you use in an advanced placement course?
Well, generally we have our standards that we do every year, just because of their importance in the literary canon, and also based on success in the past, over the past 7 years. For example, the Canterbury Tales, Hamlet, Slaughterhouse-Five, A Clockwork Orange. These are books that have just been perennially sort of loved by my students, and it's been a great experience. So those are some of the standbys. But this year, for example, I offered, I think it was 29, I know it's a weird number, but 29 different works of literature that they could choose from and prioritize based on what they want. For example, Wuthering Heights, Waiting for Godot, different things that different classes are drawn to based on the makeup of the class. Are a lot of them involved in theater? Are they interested in romantic literature as opposed to modernist literature? So the class every year is a little bit different based on student choice and positive and negative experiences from the year before.
Great, great. Sounds very interesting. So could you also tell us the difference between taking an AP level course and our other senior elective courses?
Well, at this point, AP literature and composition, which is what I teach, as opposed to language and composition, which is the junior course. It's the only, I suppose you would say, leveled course in the senior curriculum at this point. So there's that. So there's a bit of a, I suppose, homogeneity to the group. A lot of the students who take the course were already in the honors program, and others that take the class have tested in or begged or have just really expressed an interest to work really hard. So you automatically have a group of students who are totally focused. Some of them are going to have to work really hard to do well in the class, and some of them it's just going to come naturally. But they're all there because they want to be there. And naturally the curriculum is very different as well, and it's fluid, and we can adjust and make changes, as we see fit throughout the course of the year. Whereas the other courses are, almost specialized, lit and film and other ones like that. So.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank you for being on the show and giving our viewers an insight into the AP course.
Sure.
Let's learn a little more about the advanced placement classes in this quick video that walks us through one of the lessons students presented in a recent advanced placement literature and composition class.
The Advanced Placement Program is a collaborative effort among motivated students, dedicated teachers, and committed high schools, colleges, and universities that allows high school students to earn college credit or placement while still in high school. The corresponding exams for our courses are the English Literature and Composition and the English Language and Composition Advanced Placement exams. Taking these exams are the expected outcome of taking these courses, as they are the culminating assessment. Although the specific college courses that advanced placement credit will satisfy differ from college to college, each exam represents a year's college-level work. In this video, one student in the Advanced Placement Literature and Composition class presents a Jungian archetype they've learned. Carl Jung's study of the human mind is the foundation for literary analysis.
An archetype is a symbol or an image that recurs often in a work of literature. It forms a pattern where copies can be made. Archetypes can be found in even the most basic stories. For example, the prince, the villain, and damsel in distress are all forms of archetypes.
The advanced placement courses at Chelmsford High School help students become both skilled readers and confident writers. Well, that's the end of our show. I would like to thank everyone for joining us on today's high school episode of Literacy with Linda. A special thank you goes out to the high school English department, special education department, and guidance department for sharing such a wonderful information and ideas to make the show possible. A thank you goes out to Ms. Anne-Marie Fiore for creating the original show of Inside CPS, allowing this spin-off show to happen. The CHS Theater Guild for the set design, and the cast and crew of Chelmsford Telemedia. To end our show, please enjoy this wonderful tune about literacy from our own high school ELA teacher, Mr. Stephen Quartermarsh.
If your Tennyson is 9 and your pentameter ain't rhyming, critics agree. Linda, you'll see, just like A, B, and C ain't new literacy. If your mood is subjunctive, mechanics unfunctive, cut loose and be voice passively free, and then you will see a new literacy right now.